you'll see here we introduce basically slightly better motion and with a clear frame design. Still with the ability to do with the pedestals that you are able to do with the 650 or 600 series, but also introduced onto the 650. The 750 is quite unique as well, because from here we really start to look at the pedestals itself, because one of the problems that we had last year, admittedly, was that when we introduced a lot of the range in TVs, the pedestals were too wide, which basically meant customers had to buy wider cabinets. So they're investing all their money into a television, but then realised they had to also invest more money into a cabinet. This year, we've changed it. So even though the pedestal now is slightly different, you'll see that you have the ability to be able to put it in closer. So you can have it sit into the middle, you can have it sort of sloped in or even sloped out, so you can be a bit more creative with it as well. So people that have smaller pedestals or smaller cabinets will actually have the ability now to buy a larger screen TV, knowing that they can adjust the position of the pedestals to fit their cabinet. Here we also start to introduce things like the advanced colour processing. We start to now introduce local dimming. So local dimming itself basically gives you still an edge-lit TV, but you've got separate sections of the TV now that are designed to keep to the LED lights specifically for that. So if you put a section there, the LEDs control just that point there, and so below. We also now have the wide colour spectrum. So something about last year we were introducing the DCI values on models about how much the colour gamut is covered. This is where we introduced that, but as I say, all of this basically works across to give you now HDR, so it's HDR capable. If we move across now to the DX 780, the 780 itself basically goes back to sort of a 6 series style pedestal, so you've still got now this sort of silver finish, gloss finish. We now also look at basically improved motion rate, 1800 Hz. We look at super bright panel. We're looking now introducing the Studio Master Hdx processor. So last year's processor was the UHD 4K processor. This year it's now called the Studio Master processor, which stands for Hollywood Cinema Experience. And basically it's designed to be able to give you more processors, more powerful, to be able to cope with the demands of HDR and the super bright panel. From that you can then we quote the cinema display. If we look at basically this was a 750, apologies. We look at the 780. The only difference between the two there basically is the 780 has once again a different pedestal, but it also has the ability as well of twin tuner as well. Other than that, they are exactly the same model. So from here then basically we move across after they've turned that down.
Question.
Yes.
Is 750 in the 4K range and 780 in the 4K Pro range?
So
it looks like it.
Yeah, so basically the 750 and 780 are in the 4K Pro range, because that's where we start to quote things like the higher super bright panel. So this is the Pro range in 4K. So this is the entry level there that you see those. This is where we move up in specification. So now basically we start to look at quite a unique design, quite a contemporary design. It's luxurious and it's cutting edge. So what you can see, you've got the sort of silver A-frame design here. This is on the DX800. You'll also see below that you've got a speaker. Now this speaker itself is like a floating speaker, so it sits there, and actually you can wall mount as well in both cases. So if you want to wall mount, you can wall mount the TV, and the speaker will have its own dedicated wall mount points as well. But what you find, the speaker does come in the box. It's a 40-watt speaker. But one thing that you'll see here, the positioning of the speaker itself, if you look at the bottom one here, you'll see that the speaker is pretty much directly under the TV. From this, it can kind of intrude on the picture quality itself, because it's kind of, you can see it in the background whilst watching it on the TV. But if you look on this one, we push the speaker further back. So from this one, it kind of distracts you now from looking at the quality of the picture. And you focus purely on picture quality, so therefore you don't necessarily see the speaker, it's in the background itself. From here, basically, we now start to look at things like 2000 Hz, so much better motion. We introduced THX display, which basically, to get THX certification, you need 400 separate registry points to be able to be met to get that classification of THX. Now, what I was saying to you before about these televisions down there being clients, so that you can stream to from a separate server, it's from the 780 upwards that these become servers. So if you've got a 780 model upwards, you can then stream through IP directly to one of the televisions down there without having to connect their tuners up. Now, We're going to look at the 902. Now the 902 has already been released, so I don't know whether you guys have seen this and had it released in your countries. But the 902 basically is the best LED TV in the market. Now we have had already from Germany and France 2 premium quality 5 out of 5 best LED. In the UK we had a company called HD Forums that said it was the best LED TV to date. So these are quite substantial statements to say about our television here. With this, you see we've got the collaboration with THX and with Hollywood colorists, a guy called Mike Sauer. From that, basically, we are able to quote brightness levels of up to 1,000 nits brightness. We're able to quote 512 areas of local dimming, so the detail in blacks that it gives you is far, far better. We introduced 3000 Hertz. It's HDR Premium, which then obviously gives you the 1000 nits brightness level. And we are giving you the ultra bright panel too. From this we also quote now the Studio Master Hdx Plus. The Plus is basically a faster, better processor in itself, again because it's got to deal with 512 areas of local dimming. Without that, basically, it might struggle. But even though we do quote HDX chips on this, we still do have the quad-core processors running the general background of the television itself. So the HDX processors are designed to give you the best picture quality it can do, whilst the other processor itself is dealing with all the general runnings of the TV and the smart features. Any questions? I am sort of going through this rather quickly because I understand we only have half an hour and it normally takes 55 minutes. So.
I'm wondering about the frame rates of the 3000 hertz. Because as far as I understand, when we were at the TP Vision, the guy said that no panels have more than 100 hertz frame rate.
So you're talking between the panel itself. So some panels might be a 50 hertz panel or a 100 hertz panel.
Right. So
but these are different. So basically the way to be able to work out is that the sections of the television, they haven't told us exactly how they work out to give you the 3000 hertz or the 2000 or the 1800. I would imagine that this is going to be a 100 hertz panel, but with the 100 hertz panel processing that's involved, that's what they equal 3000 hertz.
Okay.
So yes, but they haven't told us which panels are 50 or 100 hertz, so maybe information later on. Okay, so should we move on to the picture quality area?